on December 5th of '57, we were married. Then it occurred to me, hey lad, you just dropped out of college, which means you lost your student deferment, which means you're looking eyeball to eyeball at the draft right now. And you can just see the Army calling me, greetings from the President, and so on and so forth. So to duck the draft, number one, we did get married. And then immediately after the marriage, I went down to duck a draft and enlisted in the Air Force. So she stayed home with her parents while I went to basic training in the Air Force. When I came back after basic training, I had one of the most unusual assignments in the Air Force. They sent me as a student to Syracuse University to study Russian language. So Maggie and I moved to Syracuse, New York, and I became a student again. Now I already had 2 years of college, and I was there for 11 months, which gave me a little bit more than a year's credit, of college credit. So from there, I served a tour overseas, and while I was overseas in Turkey, our daughter was born, Terry, who's now 60 years old, and I volunteered to go back to Syracuse University for a second year of Russian language. And then this time when I finished my second year of Russian language, I also got my bachelor's degree with a major in Russian language. Well, again, back overseas for another mandatory overseas tour. But I'm thinking, now that I have my degree, which is the primary piece of paper necessary, I'm going to apply for officers training school. Well, guess what? I was accepted. And I became a 90-day wonder, second lieutenant, and eventually wound up retiring as a captain from the United States Air Force with the entire 22-year career spent in the intelligence career field. You got a question?
Yeah, I do. So part of your service, so the age wasn't right, so you didn't see any service in North Korea.
No, I was too late for North Korea.
Too late for that, but you did spend, therefore, some time in Vietnam, is that right?
I did. The times in the intelligence career field includes all aspects of intelligence. Now, they're basically all aspects are three. They have three branches. They are called collection, processing, and dissemination. Well, I had spent time in collection, and then when I got to Vietnam, I was in dissemination, which means I was taking the collected information from out in the field, putting it all together and disseminating that information to the commander of MACV forces, who was a four-star general. This was briefed to him every morning what was happening, and we gave him, I say we were a team, and we gave him an intelligence brief every morning of what was happening all over. After that, back to the States, where I went back to the collection process, but this time I've got enough rank that I'm not really collecting. By this time I'm in management, and I am the squadron operations officer for a reconnaissance squadron. And after that, back to the United States, where I'm going back into dissemination again, which means I am overseeing the building of a special, what they call back channel communication center for the generals there at McGuire Air Force Base and his staff to get the same morning briefing once we get the communication center built to receive the information. From there, on August the 28th, 1978, I was presented with a beautiful view. I was presented with the view of McGuire Air Force Base in the rear view mirror, because I had retired from the United States Air Force and I drove away from McGuire Air Force Base to arrive in Sevierville, Tennessee that same day. I forgot what day I said. I said August 28th, didn't I? It was not. It was August 3rd of 1978. I spent the night of August 3rd sleeping on the carpet in this house.
In this house?
In this house, and we have been in this house ever since.
Okay, now you mentioned your daughter was born overseas. Your son, was he born also overseas?
No, my son was born when I was again a student in Denver, Colorado. But I said something about going back overseas again for another mandatory tour. He was conceived in Turkey, but we came back for officers training school, 90-day wonder, then a technical school on how to be a military intelligence officer. And that's where he was born, in Denver, Colorado.
Now, earlier you mentioned meeting your wife, Maggie, when you were in junior college.
Yes.
And I hear a story about the fact that Maggie wasn't sure if she was going to marry you or not when you decided that you were going to privilege her with a proposal. So do you want to share with us that story?
You know, I was not aware of this until her funeral, when she had written a letter to our pastor of things that she wanted him to know so he could talk about her at her funeral. And in that letter she said that she asked God 3 separate times, should I marry him? And God, each time God said yes. So she consented to marry me and become my wife. We were married for 62 and a half very happy years.
Well, I know that you miss her. We all miss Maggie so much. She was such a wonderful person, and you were surely blessed with her.
I was blessed.
And I imagine that that blessing affected your life during the military service and afterwards. One more thing about the military service. I think you mentioned to me that you've got at least a partial disability from the Air Force associated with Agent Orange?
That's correct, but the word is not partial.
Okay.
I am 100% disabled because of everything in the world that is wrong with me. It started, the first symptoms showed up in 1988, which I left Vietnam in 71. But the first symptoms showed up in 88, which was diabetes. And that was just automatically connected with Agent Orange. And then from there, other parts of my body began to break down. My kidneys, my liver, my brain. In fact, right now, I have what they call a subdural hematoma, which is blood on my brain, and it is gradually improving. So I'm still, although totally disabled, I'm still able to function.